Next, so when you have the receiver, now you can see like nothing is moving. Connect your controller or your DJI controller, and then you have to basically plug in your quad. What I do now, you should never do it. Plug in your quad with the props on. It's the worst you can do. It's absolutely no-go, but for the tutorial, I'm doing it. And what you see now is when I move these sticks, you see like roll, which is like to the side. You have like pitch, which is like this movement to the front. So you roll to the side, you pitch either to the front or to the back. And you can have like yaw, which is like this rotation movement around the Z axis. And the last one is, of course, the throttle. And if you can see these things moving and it doesn't make sense, then you set it up correctly. If you have like the DJI remote controller, you press the button, you connect it, and you will already have that per default. If you have the Crossfire, you have to first go in the Crossfire menu here. You have to basically select the nano receiver or the diversity receiver, and I showed that in the tutorial before with the Crossfire. You can literally go down and you have output 1 and output 2, and you have to put output 1 to TX and you have to put output 2 to RX. And once you have to set up, and you have to go in the menu, and I will also put in the description of the tutorial, since like you need to have like a view on the controller, and I will put in a specific tutorial for that in the description of the video, which I used, and it really helped me a lot. All right, so I disconnect here. You have to literally change nothing. So what you hear here, it's also a good example with the beeper. You can hear the beeper, even I disconnected the battery, it's still beeping. So what do I have to do? I plug it in, I wait 1, 2, 3, I take it off. If it beeps 3 times, you basically turned off the beeper. Right. Next thing you have to do is you have to go, once you see that the thing is moving in the receiver tab, you want to configure, like that means just that the stick are moving, right? But the next thing you have to do is you want to basically define certain like keys on your controller. And so again, receiver is only like on the sticks, but when you move to the modes, that's like the clicks you can see here on the controller. So you go to the modes tab, and you have also there, I will put that in the description, it's the same tutorial. If you set up Crossfire, you have to basically define already on the, you have first define on the controller what this key means. So you have to define like in the menu of the controller, you have to first basically enable these keys. And then once you have them enabled, you have to basically select them in the modes tab. And it's kind of simple, because if you go to the settings there, you first say, okay, this key should be for arming here. And then you say, this key should be assigned to aux1, for example. Then when you go to this mode tab, you also select aux1, because you know you set that key on that controller to aux1. And you do that basically with all the keys. So then you go to this and you put arm, and you can literally, like here, let me show it you quickly. You can see I have to turn that on, of course.
Welcome to Tango 2. Throttle warning. Switch warning.
Yeah, so what you can see here is, like, for example, I set the beeper to this one here, and you can see that the thing is moving now to the left. And what you define with the yellow, you basically define where's the range. The yellow like stripe here defines where it is. You can see if I move it down, it's going there. If you move it in the other direction, it's going up. So you basically have to do that with the failsafe. You see I have it here. you move it down. So you're going to define the yellow is the area where it's active. And what I suggest, like when you start, is, let's say the minimal modes you have to enable is like you want to have arm, otherwise you cannot arm the quad. You want to have like a horizon. I put that somewhere here, like that means when you fly and you don't feel comfortable, you put it in the horizon mode and that levels the drone. And yeah, maybe that's a good recap. So you can have an acro mode. Acro mode means wherever you leave the drone, it stays in that position. So you can basically a flip and you stay in that position and it stays like. In the horizon mode, it basically levels the drone. So it's almost like a DJI drone. You put speed, but if you leave the sticks, it goes back to an initial position and it's like in this like kind of hovering position. So I have that on the horizon mode. When I'm out far and I have bad signal, I put in horizon mode and just press up to get that signal back. You want to have a GPA rescue mode. That's when you feel unsafe, you completely lost your orientation. You should not use it on purpose to land with the DJI drone. It's absolutely worst scenario, you just press it, the drone flips, and it basically enables that GPS rescue modes with a click of a button. You have a beeper. I put that, but maybe you don't need that because it's a quiet beeper. I would suggest you get that buzzer beeper because it's much louder and it's independent of the battery of the drone. It has its own battery, as I said, and it's much safer. The last one is the flip over after crash. They also name that turtle mode, and the way you do it is basically, first of all, you assign like, okay, in that yellow area you have turtle mode. You basically, let's say you fly and you crash it. You disarm your quad. You put in like the turtle mode. You start arm the quad again, and then you only use the sticks on the right side and only the one for roll. So roll, like I said, like this movement here. And what it does, it only lets two blades spinning at a time. So when you crash, you disarm the quad, you click the button for the turtle mode, you arm it again, and then you just tip it to the left or to the right, and you see how the drone on the back starts like spinning. And if you have enough, you get a feeling for it. It flips the drone back in its initial position. Tons of tutorial for turtle modes also on the internet, but too specific for this masterclass also to demonstrate it here. But as said, put the key to turtle mode and said disarm, put the turtle modes in, put the turtle key in, arm again, play around with the roll sticks. When you have it, go disarm it, go out of your turtle and put back arm in. All right, now here you can see the GPS. You can sometimes when you plug it in, you can already see that it found some satellites, but mostly if you're indoor, don't get confused. Like you're not going to find it's not going to find any satellites mostly. It's also don't expect like a DJI commercial drone GPS system. It's not on the same level yet. Yes. Now also important is the motor sector, and for this one, I have to take my props off. All right, we're back. I took my props off as you all should do. Before in the configuration tab, I told about the rotation of the motors. And I said, okay, I want to have the motors spinning away from the drone on the top part and away from the drone on the bottom part, like equivalent to the image there. Now I go to the motor sector, and what I want to test is, do the motors actually work? What I do is, you take off the props, you plug in the battery, then you have this, I understand the risk, blah, 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 blah. You have to enable that. And then you go gentle on that stick here, you go slowly up. And you can see that the motor starts spinning up. Right? And what you have to do now, and it's really important, you see now, you turn it down until you can like see the motor spinning. And when you see the motor spinning, you see on the top left corner, you see the drawing. So you see what 1, 2, 3, and 4 means. So what you want to make sure is like that in which direction is your motor spinning now. On the image on the top, you see how it should be, and now you have to basically compare. So what do? You turn off all the motors, you go to 1, which is supposed to be, if I look at the image, the bottom right one. So you're going to spin up 1. And of course, now I have to set it up correctly. Now motor 1 is spinning, but it could be that probably when you start, it's not motor 1 is spinning. It could be that motor 3 is spinning. So what you have to write down on the paper is, first of all, which motor is spinning. Instead, like if you start spinning up 1, you put a 1 double point, and then you write the actual motor which is spinning. So if you spin up 1 and you see 3 spinning, so you write down 3. You have to remember that. And you basically going to do that with the 2, the 3, the 4, and the 5. And you always look, with the 4. You're not going to have 5 motors. You're not going to let all the 4 motors spin up and see which motor is actually spinning. And you can always refer to that picture, because the picture shows you when you spin up 1, then the motor on the bottom right needs to spin. When you let 4 spinning up, then you know, or like the motor 4, that means that the top left motor should spin, and that's the ideal. That's where you want to go. So you first check that out. You're going to write down which motors are spinning. All right, now we noted down now the actual rotation of the props, and we have the image, the ideal image where we want to go. So what we do is we go to the CLI tab, and what we're going to type in here is like resource. What you're going to see here is like, don't get confused, there are a lot of numbers, but what you want to do is you want to basically copy these 4 numbers, because it's motor 1, motor 2, motor 3, motor 4. You not have a hexacopter, so motor 5 and 6 you can like, yeah, you don't have to care about that. You basically copy that and exactly this function to like a note or a worksheet. And what you then basically do is you wrote down, when I wanted to start up motor 1, motor 4 started spinning. And when I tried to start on motor 4, motor 1 started spinning. So what you have to do is basically you have to rewrite these things. Let me do that now. Otherwise, it's too complicated. I go to notes. And you're going to copy paste. You're going to copy paste these resources down to the note tab like this. And now what you do, basically you leave the old ones. That's how I usually do it. You go down, and that's, want to make it low, that is as is, and this is like to be. And now we said, okay, if I want to spin up motor 1, motor 4 starts spinning. So what I do is I take the name, the BO1 from 4, and put it to 1. And when I started motor 1, actually motor 4 started spinning. So I have to copy that here. And basically, for example, now the 3 and the 2 was right. That's why I leave it. So I only change motor 1 and motor 4. And what I do now is I literally take these commands, I copy paste them in here. Then you press enter. I'm not going to do it now, otherwise I'm going to destroy my configuration. You would literally copy all 4 here in the CLI tab. You press enter, you can see set to the new motor configuration. And what you do at the very end, you just type save into the tab and press enter, and it kicks you out, and it actually saves the information on the flight controller. What you have done now is you have configured which motor starts spinning based on which configuration. So go over the CLI tab to define which motor is spinning. And first, and that's important, before when we looked at the orientation in the motors tab, this is like the go-to. When you do this configuration, set the motor configuration, don't focus on the rotation. Just make sure that when you let motor 1 starting up, that actually motor 1 is spinning. Don't focus on the direction yet. We're going to fix that in the next step. So, and when you like basically on that tab, let motor 4 spinning up, you want to have that motor 4 on your quad, which looks like the same as this layout, start spinning. Don't focus on the direction. What you do next is you basically disconnect from Betaflight, and now you go to the next tool, and that's the BL Heli. Here we are back. We said we closed Betaflight, so make sure Betaflight is only for flight controller. If you want to do configurations on the ESC, the electronic speed controller, you have to go in BL Heli 32 and you have to disconnect from Betaflight, otherwise it's not working. And you're gonna download, I put all these description to download Betaflight and to download the BL Heli, I'm gonna make it in the description. So the first thing you have to do when you put it in, you have to plug in your battery because the ESC needs power, otherwise you cannot do the configuration. So you start plugging it in. And here you see on port, it's almost the same like before. You're gonna select USB modem and then the number, and you're gonna basically read the setup. And you see like the numbers coming up, and you see found multiple ESC configuration. That's what you get, this notification that all 4 ESC are found. And what you have to do then is most of the flight controllers, they come with a configuration. Otherwise, you have to flash it here. Also, make sure you see here 32.7. That's the latest ESC configuration firmware. You want to have them on 32.7. That's really important for the other configurations we're going to do later on. So what you do for that is you go to the ESC setup and you're going to flash BL Heli if ESC is not on 32.7. So you can literally flash then, and it flashes ESC by ESC because it's 4 in 1 and we have 4 motors. It's almost like 4 ESCs in the one big ESC. That's why it's called 4 in 1. So when you put flash, it starts flashing ESC1 and then you press OK, OK, OK. Then it starts flashing ESC2. You press OK, OK, and you flash all the way through 4 times. Now, we said before, we have the orientation now right with the motors, but the direction doesn't fit. So what you're going to do is, you see here the motor direction. So what you do is you put a right click, not a left click, a right click on the motor 1. Now you see motor 1 is selected, and if it like basically turned in the wrong direction, you press it up until it says reversed. And that means now the motor is going into the other direction. You put reversed and then you say right setup and then you're going to write it. I'm not going to do it as I have done it. Then you press right click on 2. You see, okay, that one is already on reversed. You're going to put it back. You put right until it basically it goes in the same direction. And with direction, I'm going to recap. You want to have the motors going to the front, so like inward and away. Inward and away from the drone. That's like the way it should turn. And you can also basically test the motors here. You don't have to go back to Betaflight. You just go to the motor tab. Then it's like starting up. And then I understand the risk. It's the same. Now you can like slowly let the motor starting up. And you can basically check by starting up 3 and 4. And you let them spin super slow. And you can almost take like a prop. That's what I usually do. If you let like one spinning up, I take like a prop and I see like in which direction it pushes. I see, oh, okay, it's going outwards. That's okay. And then I go to the next one. I let it starting up I put and I see like from the rotation, it goes out like first in and then like away from the drone, so that's okay. If you have done that, that's fine. The last thing I recommend to you, I'm gonna show you that quick. That's just a little trick on the side. That's for smooth flying behavior. It's gonna decrease a little bit your performance on the motors, but I have seen that Rotor Riot and Joshua Bardwell also, where I collect so much from the learnings. These guys explained that as well. The PWM frequency, I put it to 48 kilohertz. It's a smooth, they work smoother, a little bit less, how should I say, from the power, but it's smooth. And I put motor timing on auto. So these two things you should do, 48 kilohertz and motor timing on auto, and you should do that on all four. And you can basically do it once you do the motor direction. You can also directly change the motor direction before the motor timing, the frequency, and then you write the setup, and you do that for 1, 2, 3, and 4. And once you have that, you're gonna just disconnect. All right? Then you can disconnect your beautiful drone.